Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is prompt number 2 of 10 days of bits and pieces 2025, and this one is masterboards. So if you're not familiar with what a masterboard is, basically we're just going to do a collage on a whatever. I happen to have a piece of A3 card. You could do it onto Amazon packaging. If you don't have bits of card, you could just do it onto an A4 piece. Generally, oh, sorry, my thing keeps focusing in and out, but I'll keep going. I don't tend to do big masterboards. I tend to do these kind of strips because when I was card making a lot, I'd always end up with these strips, and I always kept them. So I kind of have done in the past these kind of collage strips, and then you can just cut into them to put on your journal. There's some smaller bits here where I put some washi tape over them. And this one's more of from a board. This is thinner paper. These I think are quite thick. So if you're using a thicker base, then they're good for tags. So you can see here I've done the board and then I've cut them with tags. These are die cut, but if you can just sort of draw your own tag shape, sorry. So these will probably end up as tags as well, so because they're quite thick. So this is more of the effect we're going to get from a collar, from a masterboard, much more different, not just in strips like this. But if you don't want to do a whole great big board, then you can do like I said, I can do the strips like that. But we're going to do this here. What I've done is I've got some some fairly neutral pages. There are some bright spots with these. We will not need anywhere near all of these, and I might not rip into all of them, but it gives me an option. That one I think I'm going to put to one side because that is much more bright than I think I'm looking for on this. And I've also got some pages, book pages, vintage pages. You can see some have already been ripped into, and we'll see how we go. But it is just, there are no rules on this. It's we'll get a basic page covered, and then we'll look at, because we can add things onto that before it gets cut up. So the idea of this is to create a big collage that can be cut into to make backgrounds, or to use for clusters, or to use for tags. Okay, so I'll show you a little bit of a start. I'm not going to show you all of it because obviously you don't need to see me, and I'm probably not even going to show you it all on a fast wind. I'll probably record it all, and then I'll make my mind up when it comes to editing as to how much I show you. So I'm going to use this. This is Matt Collage Glue. This is from Janie's Originals. So whereas the paper bindery glue that I use a lot, that has more of a gloss finish. So when it dries, you see that sort of shine. Whereas the Matte Collage Glue is exactly what it says, it's matte. And I have a very old brush, and I have a little pot that I'm going to put glue into, because it's easier. It's easier to do this with a glue. Of course, it's easy to do with a glue with a brush, than it is to try and sort of put glue onto each piece. I'm probably going to. I've got some. Well, that one's funky. I can't use that one. That one's filthy. I might just keep this. Oh dear. That's oh, whatever it is, I'll paint, I think, on that. So if I go to the edges, it's just to stop me getting too much. So if I'm gluing around this edge, then I'll have this here just to stop me from ending up gluing. I bet probably, I'll still end up making a right mess. So I do tend to start. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on. You don't put loads on. Don't, because you're not going to be able to keep up with it. So I'm going to start And you're better off with torn. I prefer torn edges, so I'm putting the straight edges like that. Okay. And I'm going to keep the little strips just in case I might want them. I do have a tendency when I'm doing I have done bigger master boards. I do tend to put uh pages like this on first and then go over, so you can see I'm not sort of working in one place. I do prefer to and when it's printed paper like this, you can go over the Matt Collage. I do have some papers that I have printed, so those I probably will still put it over, but the likelihood is that the ink will smudge. Not that I'm too bothered. Now I get a little bit liberal with my glue, so this will end up getting a little bit messy, I can feel. Let's put this up here. Try and at least keep myself a little bit tidy. So I'm going to go ahead and put on kind of oh, what happened to that bit? Sort of a base area, not completely covered, but you know, starting to get some of the vintage pages on. Okay. Okay, so I put some of the vintage pages on, and I think I'm going to just try and narrow this down a bit more. So I'm, you know, because there is absolutely no way I need all of these papers. So I need to decide. See, I think this one, I don't want it to, I'm not sure I want it to be particularly word. Want it to be all wordy. Don't want it to be all insecty. So I'm just trying to decide which of these I'm going to go with. I'm gonna go with those two. I do want something else. Something other than words. About that one. We'll go with that one. Yeah, we'll go with that. Let's go with these three. Let's see if we can do it all from these three rather than ripping into too many things. So I think what I'm just going to do, I do like the idea of rose, so we'll just take that up. And I like, oh dear, be careful. And I like this little butterfly thing here, so I'm going to rip that out. I like the bird. The only reason I'm doing this first is because these are bits I think like to just put on maybe as focal points. I'm not sure at the moment, but what I don't want to do is end up just using them as random collage pieces. So right, I'm happy with that. So let's start seeing what we can do with this piece of paper. So look, I don't particularly want straight lines. These bits I do tend to hang over the edges, so we can get the bits, the ripped bits instead. Like up here, these ones I choose up along the top. Okay, so I'm going to continue now with these papers, and I will come back when we're at the next stage. The whole piece is now covered, but I'm just going to add on these little bits that I cut off earlier, just to give it a little bit more a little bit more interest. And then I need to let it dry. I can do that naturally, or you can add on use a heat gun. So I may use a heat gun just to speed it up, but I will be back when it's dry and we will look at the next step. Okay, so I've come back because I've made a decision. I'm going to put some washi tape on, and I thought, you know, and I'm going to give it a little bit of you might as well use up the rest of this glue, just to make the surface sticky, just so that any washi tape actually has an additional stick, so it won't come off. And I might as well use the glue because otherwise it's impossible to get it back into the thing. So let's see how we go. Oops. I've got a few different washi tapes here. Just going to take a few pieces, and I need my little poker tool here just to get the backing off, because my hands are a little bit sticky at the moment, so it's not gonna come off so easily. So like I said, the having the extra glue on there will just help that to stick, rather than I've got a few here that, you know, you can cut them off in bits of like little adverts. So I'll do these individually. I quite like these ones that you get sort of multiple for your money, if you like. You can stick them on in a oh, I do apologize. My brain is not quite up functioning on full. I'm struggling to get the back of this off. So I think what I'll do is I will stop yabbering. We'll continue to do this. And I can show you when it's done. Okay, so I have my washi tape on, and now we just need to let this all dry. Oh, looks like I need to put a little bit. Thing with it being wet is that sometimes you get that you'll end up taking little bits off. So now we really do need to get this dry. This is now dry. I do need to cut the edges, but before I do that, I'm going to just use this is Distress Oxide Freight Lab. It's one that I like using. I just, in those areas where we had I've still got white, so where the sort of the ripped edges of the pages, I'm just going to go over with a bit of ink. It picks up other things like it has here. I think it's a bit of the glue. You know, I'm not too worried. Just want to sort of tone the white bits down. What I will do when I've done this is I will just wipe it over with a piece of paper towel, just because you know, some of the washi tape, it might just be sitting on the top of the washi tape rather than sort of being blended in, and I don't really want to loads of ink everywhere when I'm trying to cut and work with this. So oops, it's quite am I happy with that? See, I've gone for quite a muted vintage style because I imagine I would be more likely to use this for tags or the backgrounds, and then it's not kind of then too in your face. So that's the thing. I'm going to just cut the edges off. Okay, so we have our masterboard completed, and now it's just a case of what what you want to do with it. So I'm not going to cut all of it up now, but I am going to make some tags. Now, I do have tag dies, and I do often have a little bit of session of cutting my tags. But these ones are bought ones. They're the same, no. So I've got 3 different sizes of tags that I bought from a little stationery shop, which I use a lot. So rather than measuring, which you can do, you can just use these as a template. And I'm just going to draw around them with pencil. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to use the whole board for tags, but this is quite a nice background. So let's do a couple of the big ones. Got to remember the thing with when you've put a lot of glue on paper, it will have warped. So I'm leaving a bit of a gap there. Whoops. So I've got a couple of big tags. Will that one fit in there? See that? It doesn't matter. I'm not bothered if it's sort of sideways, because quite likely I will add onto my tags. In fact, I'll also show you that. So let's do a couple more of these. So you can see I'm at this A3. I'm going to get quite a few tags. I mean, you'll find the ones that you use the most of. I'd probably say I probably use these 3 sizes. I do have some bigger ones. I do have some smaller ones. Let's put another one of you there. Well, I didn't put that up against the thing, did I? Just let's put another little one in there. I'm not quite using half of the sheet, and I'm going to get some tags from this. And probably the little sort of, I'll get a strip out of this as well, let's put down here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use guillotine to just cut down there. So that leaves me all of that part of the board, and I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tags. Now, I might continue using my guillotine where possible. It might not. Just do like where I can to get straight edges. So let's see. See where we're going with this. Doesn't look to me like that. It's going to be quite straight. So there. And I can still feel my board is a bit damp. I'm trying to move it on my, just a little bit of resistance. So I'm being a little bit cautious, and I might actually get my scissors out to finish cutting these. It's just feels a little bit damp. So all I'm going to do is cut along my edges that I drew, and I will be back when they're all done. Okay, so you can see I've still got part of the masterboard. I've got I've got 4, 7, 9 tags from it, which I can add stickers to, you know, some fibers. And I also kept this little strip that came from that, and there's a little bit cut off bit as well that I will put in my ephemera tin. So yeah, love doing a masterboard. Yeah, it's that simple. You don't need to do it that big, but you know, it's that simple. Okay, so thank you for joining me, and I will see you again on the next 10 days of bits and pieces challenge.